Hello everyone. In the sequence of our topics from the novel Jane Eyre, now we are analyzing the central character of the novel Jane Eyre as a spirited and intelligent woman to accept her appointed place in society. We have seen in the novel Jane Eyre is a bold woman. She is a spirited and intelligent woman and she accepts her appointed place in the society. Jane refuses to accept that traditional or conventional role which was assigned to women of the time. Jane's refusal to accept the conventional status has been described by Charlotte Bronte with unusual frankness. Novelists in those days were compelled by the prevailing moral code to exercise a certain restraint and not to speak frankly about man-woman relationships. Besides Jane's refusal to accept that status, Jane also shows a passionate sense of the dignity and needs of her sex. Thus, we heartily and wholly agree with the entire view expressed by a critic about Charlotte Bronte's famous novel and quoted in the question before us. Indeed, this view expressed by a critic sums up the character of Jane and sums up also the message which Charlotte Bronte wanted to convey to her readers through this novel. In this novel, Jane Eyre, the central character Jane Eyre was portrayed by Charlotte Bronte, and the refusal of a spirited and intelligent woman to accept her appointed place in society with unusual frankness and with a passionate sense of the dignity and needs of her sex. We know very well of Jane's spirit of defiance and her spirit of enterprise. She was able to defend herself, and she at the same time she also possesses a spirit of enterprise, means she believes in working. In the very beginning, when Jane is hardly 10 years old, she reveals the spirit of defiance and revolt in her nature. We have seen this thing in her nature in the very beginning of the novel. At Gateshead Hall, she rebels against the ill treatment accorded to her by her aunt Mrs. Reed and her children. After having silently endured the callous treatment meted out to her by the Reed family for some time, she refuses to submit to that treatment and becomes defiant towards Mrs. Reed and accuses her of behaving in a manner of which the late Mr. Reed would never have approved. She boldly tells Mrs. Reed that her son John Reed is a wicked boy, that her daughter Georgiana and not she is the one who tells lies, and that they are all heartless persons who regard her not as a member of the family but as a contemptible dependent. Of course, Jane herself falls ill as a result of this clash between her and Mrs. Reed, but she feels greatly relieved when she is sent away to Lowood School and thus gets rid of the oppressive atmosphere at Gateshead Hall and the cruelty to which she was being subjected there. This spirit of defiance not only continues in Jane's character but gathers strength with the passing of time, and she grows up into an independent minded young girl capable of taking initiatives. Charlotte Bronte showed great grace when she portrayed the character of this girl in such terms. At Lowood School again, Jane has to endure the humiliating and insulting treatment at school by Mr. Brocklehurst, who openly declares in an assembly of students and teachers that this girl, namely Jane, is an obnoxious person and that they should all be on their guard against her. However, she also he receives considerable sympathy from Miss Temple. Miss Temple was the superintendent of the school, and she also finds a friend, Helen Burns. Helen Burns was a pious and self-effacing person. After 6 years of schooling, Jane becomes a teacher in the same school, and after 2 years as a teacher, she quits this place in search of new pastures. In this respect, she shows herself to be a very enterprising girl because, having begun to hunger for a wider knowledge and a greater experience of life, she advertises in a newspaper the fact of her availability for a suitable post. As a consequence of this advertisement, she is summoned for an interview at Thornfield Hall by the housekeeper there for the post of a governess. Mrs. Fairfax offers her the post, and Jane now starts a new career as a governess. She has to educate here a little French girl by the name of Adele, who is the ward of Mr. Rochester, the owner of Thornfield Hall. We also know the independent mindedness of Jane Eyre and her sense of dignity of womanhood. In her new life at Thornfield Hall, Jane's spirit of initiative and enterprise and her desire for wider knowledge of the world and of human nature acquires still greater strength, and it is at this place, Thornfield Hall, that she emerges as the heroine of this novel. Short of stature and plain looking, uh, Jane Eyre was not very beautiful in her looking. She yet conducts herself in a manner which shows her independent mindedness and her refusal to conform to the long established conventions of society which prevented a young girl from developing her mind and personality. And established conventions did not allow a girl to develop her mind and personality, but Jane Eyre did so, and is demanded from her a subservience to the prevailing moral code. On one occasion, she tells Mr. Rochester that he cannot give her orders and commands just because he pays her a salary. So, this refusal of orders and commands from Mr. Rochester shows her boldness. What she means is that although she is his employee, he should not expect her to behave as his slave or as a commodity belonging to him. Mr. Rochester is inwardly much struck by this girl's boldness, and this boldness attracts Mr. Rochester towards Jane Eyre, and this boldness is one of the traits of her character which attract towards her and which also show her sense of the dignity of womanhood. And we also find that Jane surrenders herself to this to her own biological urge. She also has biological needs or cravings for the flesh without realizing it. Unconsciously, uh, Jane Eyre does not realize his sorry her that needs. Jane gradually feels attracted by Mr. Rochester's magnetic personality, and she becomes more and more emotionally involved with him till she finds that she is deeply and intensely in love with him. He is by no means a dashing, handsome man, and he is no longer young either. Jane is barely 18 while Mr. Rochester is nearing 40, and yet she has fallen passionately in love with him. On his part, Mr. Rochester too has inwardly been falling under the spell of Jane's sterling qualities, regardless of the fact that she is not at all a pretty girl and that she is 20 years younger than he. Mr. Rochester even given up his previous intention to marry the rich and pretty Blanche Ingram, and he now aims at acquiring Jane as his wife because he feels that he can achieve true happiness with her as his companion. In developing this love affair, the author has again shown much courage because such a love affair between this is a strange kind of love affair between a girl of 18 and a 40-year-old man, a girl who is absolutely plain looking, and a man who is not at all handsome, did not figure and could not have figured in the novels of their time and in the novel of the preceding era. So this was a strange kind of love, and this was evidently an unconventional kind of love affair. In fact, we can see that by falling in love with Mr. Rochester, Jane has yielded to the sensual element in her nature. As a biological mature girl, she has unconsciously been experiencing the cravings of the place, and this natural urge in her is responsible to a large extent for her having fallen in love. After all, Mr. Rochester is the first man with whom she, a girl who has just entered the age of puberty, has come into a close contact. In any case, this love affair violated the moral code which novelists of the time were expected to observe. Furthermore, Jane has here unconsciously shown her passionate sense of the needs of her sex. Jane Eyre also has a strong sense of the dignity of woman, but there is something more to this love affair. It is not only unconventional in the ordinary sense, it is unconventional in a more glaring manner. Mr. Rochester is already a married man, and his wife, who is a lunatic, is living in the same house in which he is living. His seeking a young girl like Jane as his second wife would shock many readers, even in our own times, in which all kinds of improper, indecorous, unheard of, and outrageous man woman relationships have become common. The love affair between a man who was already married and a virgin much younger than himself would naturally shock the readers of Charlotte Bronte's time, when prudery was the word which actually described the attitude of the Victorian man and woman towards sex. Of course, Jane herself is at this time unaware of Mr. Rochester's being a married man, and when the fact of his being a married man does become known to her, she puts an end to her relationship with Mr. Rochester and quits Thornfield Hall. She shows her dignity as a woman by refusing firmly to live with Mr. Rochester as his mistress. She does not degrade womanhood by yielding to Mr. Rochester's suggestion that she should live with him as his mistress, even though he persists in his suggestion, repeating it several times and reinforcing it with his entreaties, appeals, and threats. Here again, she upholds her dignity as a woman, and she upholds the dignity of her whole sex. And we find Jane Eyre constant in her love. The wonder of wonders, however, is that she cannot forget Mr. Rochester and, in fact, continues to love with him with the same intensity and fervor with which she had been loving him in the past. And on his part, Mr. Rochester finds his life to be absolutely empty and meaningless after Jane has left. Here is another unconventional aspect of this novel and of this love affair. At this point, Jane has risen in our esteem because, while having refused to accept the position of a man's mistress, she shows a rare consistency towards that man. She rejects the proposal of marriage by St. John Rivers, who repeatedly and earnestly urges her to marry him. At one point, She even gets ready to say yes to him. But her passion for Mr. Rochester rises to the surface within her breast and reasserts itself in the form of a voice calling out by her name. In response to that resurgent passion, she sets out in search of Mr. Rochester and is able to trace him to his manor house at Ferndean. And then what happens is again something unconventional. Jane promptly agrees to Mr. Rochester's proposal of marriage, even though Mr. Rochester is at this time a blind man and a cripple. By marrying Mr. Rochester, Jane has enhanced her image in our eyes because constancy or fidelity in love is certainly a virtue. In conclusion, we find many facts that nobody can doubt that Jane is an intelligent woman. In fact, more intelligent than most women. Nobody can doubt that she is a spirited woman, bolder and more daring than the majority of women. Nobody can doubt that she has refused to accept her appointed place in Victorian society and carved out a different path and a different position for herself. No one can doubt that Charlotte Bronte has written the story of this woman in a frank, candid, and courageous manner, disregarding the conventions of novel writing and flying in the face of the taboos which were in vogue at that time. The author Charlotte Bronte proved herself to be an original and daring author by having written a novel in which Jane Eyre is the heroine.